is mental health management for our lovely students. And not only for our student, also we believe that both the teachers and the staff will also get a lot of useful information from here. And definitely, I have received a lot of wonderful tips and how to manage in stress from the past two sessions. So guys, please listen carefully. Some of these may not apply to you right away, but the thing is, if you notice that maybe your friends have this kind of issues, you can actually tell your friends how to manage this and how to look for help. So let's join this and then listen carefully, and yeah, let's get started.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for joining this meeting today. Good afternoon, of course. Today, as you know, I am Dr. Bharadwaj. I'm a psychologist. And in my team, we have today Rupika Sharma, who is a psychotherapist registered and very good with various languages. And we also have with us Vandya Puri. She is a placement student. I think most of you attended our seminar last time, which was on stress. And we are just taking it a little bit further today about the stress and wellness. I just want to recap what we did in the last session, So basically what I said was that stress is very common and it's a day-to-day thing. Any little thing can be seen as a stress. Perception of stress varies from person to person. The same stress can be seen as very little for one person and it can be very big for the other person. The other thing, the point which I mentioned was the stress is there with us all through our life. If one stress goes away, there'll be another stress. So we have to deal with stress all the time. Till the time we die, there will be stresses and we have to learn to deal with it. Uh, so we also talked a little bit about what are the different kind of symptoms of stress which you should recognize in yourself so that you can take care of it. And certain coping skills we talked about how to deal with stress. So today we want to take it a little bit further than stress, because stress, anxiety, and worry, these are three words which we use very synonymously. But there is a little bit of difference between stress and anxiety. Uh, Today, our session is going to focus more on anxiety and a little bit on depression. Because if you do not deal with stress and if you let it remain for a very long period of time, then it can trigger your normal anxiety, which everybody feels. And it can become kind of a clinical disorder also. Uh, so I really want to talk a bit about anxiety so that you understand what is normal anxiety and when it is becoming little more than normal and you need to really take care of it. We will also talk about the coping strategies of anxiety. So we are going to start with a short video on stress and anxiety, which differentiate a little bit between stress and anxiety. Last time, all the students were great, that they participated so well in this seminar that we were really happy. And the whole point of doing this is that we want your feedback. We want you to interact with us. We want to know that where you are at and what is it that you know and what is it that you don't know. So today also I expect that you will participate in it and you will communicate with us through writing on this. on Zoom. So let's start, Vandya. Can you show the short video on stress and anxiety so that it's a little bit of a recap of what we did and a little bit of what is the difference? Okay. Yeah. We can't see it. Vandya, we can't see the video.
Oh, sorry, I'll have to share the
Video. You have to share the video.
Yeah. Are you able to review it?
Yes. Now we have. Thank you, Vandya. Okay, so we are going to now start giving you a little bit of information about anxiety, what is anxiety, and what are the symptoms of anxiety, what are the types of anxiety, and how we can deal with anxiety. Okay, so I am handing over to Rupika now. So let's start with that, Rupika.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Dr. Bharadwaj, for your kind introduction. And thank you, Principal Mukhi, for having us on this platform to share our knowledge, our views, while we are dealing with this every day. Welcome, everyone, all the young people, all the students. It's a pleasure, it's a privilege to come and share some words of knowledge and wisdom with you guys. I always make it a big thanks to all the participants who took their time joining this webinar, sitting here, listening to us. You might leave with one word, one coping skill, one word of knowledge today. Don't make it small, make it big for yourself. For you, it will take you a long way. So, Dr. Bharadwaj has clearly indicated how stress and anxiety are different from each other or how they are related to each other. They still have differences, they still have commonalities. I'll go ahead and explain you a little bit more about anxiety. But before I start, I just want to give you a small disclaimer that this webinar is only for educational purposes, and please do not use it for self-diagnosis. At any point of time, if you feel these symptoms, these triggers, these things are bothering me, please seek professional help. Please seek medical attention and then reach to a conclusion. Do not make a diagnosis of your anxiety from today's webinar. Thank you. And let's start with what's the meaning of anxiety. We all experience anxiety in our everyday life, don't we, Dr. Bharadwaj? Just starting
Yes.
anything
Yeah.
new. Principal Mukhi must be experiencing the same. Vande must be experiencing same. And Yu Chan
Every day.
mentioned that he also goes through anxiety every day. And we are in a time of full-blown anxiety these days. Pandemic, and the news of pandemic. That's all we are hearing. And that is causing anxiety, because anxiety is always recognized through some sensations, emotions, thoughts, or behaviors which lead us to worrying about our futuristic ideations. These indicators act as signals to pay attention and cues for some action to deal with the situation. Whether we decide to avoid, escape, problem solve, or act on the situation, it is very crucial part of human instinct to stay safe and adapt to the new situation. And this is that we all are doing right now by following the restrictions, the guidelines of staying home during COVID times. To avoid the anxiety, we are adapting to the new changes to stay safe. So, feeling of worrying, nervousness, fear, which we do not understand from it is stemming, causes us anxiety. In today's webinar, we are going to cover the symptoms that predominantly compose the anxiety disorder and make a person unable to function normally in everyday life. It not just impacts our functioning, it also impacts our cognitive symptoms like sleep, concentration, ability to study, finish an assignment on time. So it kind of disrupts the whole system that we normally do not see coming. We are also going to discuss a little bit briefly about different types of anxiety disorders, which most people do not know that anxiety is not one component in itself. It has different forms. It has different variations that we will discuss a little bit today. And we'll just talk a little bit about the triggers, how to identify what kind of triggers bring anxiety in a human being, how the body reacts, and how the mind reacts. Just as a statistical analysis, it is said that about 1 in 10 adults in North America suffer from an anxiety disorder. So it can be any kind of anxiety disorder that we are going to discuss, but 1 in 10 adults. And it's a big number, it's not a small number, but there are different variations again that we are going to discuss what kind of anxiety disorders they are suffering from.
So, Rupika, this will be great if we can just tell them what is a normal anxiety and, what we are talking about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, normal anxiety. I sometimes believe anything new makes us feel anxious. So, there are some situations or triggers that bring normal anxiety in any given individual. It can be first date, can be preparing for an exam, performing at a concert, giving a speech, doing this webinar, moving from home to a new place, climbing a tall ladder, or anything new that you haven't done before. That is a starting point of normal anxiety. Anxiety brings feelings of apprehension, nervousness, tension, sometimes nausea, sweating, trembling, uneasy body symptoms as well. But the good part of this normal anxiety is that it's transient. It goes away after some time. It doesn't stay there forever. For example, if you're going on first date, you won't run away because you're feeling anxious, right? You will still stay there. You'll still talk to your date. You'll still talk to the partner. And while the meeting is ending, the anxiety ceases out. It fades away. So it does not significantly interferes with a person's well-being. It still allows you to perform. It still allows you to function in a given situation. It does not stop you from achieving your goal. It won't stop you to complete your exam. You might feel a lot of uneasiness during the exam, but you're still determined that you will have to do it, and you do it. This is normal anxiety, which does not affect us. May I ask all of you to write in the chat box, how many of you are able to identify what a normal anxiety is and you experience it on a daily basis or regular basis, I might say.
And maybe they can even write, when do they feel anxious?
Yes.
If they can write just once or two situations.
Sure.
We'll give them 1 minute to
Okay.
just write it, and then when they can read them. Yeah. Students, please cooperate.
Yeah.
Final exam, of course. Exam is the biggest concern for students, for sure.
There we go.
Preparing
Some
for
more
presentation.
responses.
Yeah, preparing for presentation.
I see Nicole said, I feel nervous. I'm sorry, it just went away. Anxious when I have to go into a public place. Yes, that's correct.
Very good. Yeah, yeah. We will talk about that in a bit.
Anxious for this afternoon's vaccine shots. Your tag is very
Right.
Waiting for the day to start. Yes, because it's a new day.
Yes.
Travel by plane. Yeah.
That is excellent. This is another type of anxiety we can talk about. Yeah.
Feel my heart racing. Sometimes I get confused about my surrounding or can't breathe. Yeah,
that's the
we'll
symptom.
be getting into the symptoms soon. Presenting in front of big audience when giving a speech, definitely the biggest trigger we all go through. I was anxious too before starting this.
Okay, so whether do you want to quickly read all these again, or should we go into the video?
Actually,
We already read everything, right?
Yeah.
And we can recap it later on. So let's go into the video. Okay, what is anxiety? Okay.
There's no way I'm going to pass this exam. I don't even want to show up.
I was so uncomfortable at that part. It was hard for me to breathe and I got all sweaty. I had to leave.
I won't go to sleep or leave the house unless I've made sure the stove is off and the doors are locked. Sometimes I do this 3 or 4 times.
I have to get to the airport 5 hours early. You just never know what might happen. These are the voices of people who have experienced anxiety. Anxiety is a common reaction to life events, like taking a final exam or speaking in front of a crowd. But when it becomes really uncomfortable and makes day-to-day life hard to live, then it's a problem, or even what we call a disorder. I know. I've lived with anxiety for a long time. My own anxiety feels like it's about everything. I worry about so many things in so many ways, and it impacts my life big time. I stress about things that are about to happen or might happen, and it means I can't really focus on where I am or who I'm with. Sometimes my heart pounds, I speak really fast, and I kind of snap at people. My family gets really frustrated with me. When it's really bad, I have a knot in my stomach all the time. I can even feel depressed, and then I just want to be alone. I feel like if I do something, I'll screw it up or something will go wrong. So a lot of times, I'd just rather avoid it all. I feel so much better staying home and maybe having a drink. Turns out, anxiety is a very common mental health symptom. It can be the main sign of generalized anxiety disorder, which I have, or social anxiety disorder, which is when people have a fear of being in public or meeting new people. For For those of us with social or generalized anxiety disorders, it's really difficult to live the way we want to live. Some people have anxiety about really specific things. They are afraid of heights, snakes, spiders, or something else. These are called phobias. And when people avoid these things, anxiety mostly stays away. But when people can't avoid their phobias, it is a real problem. Some people experience anxiety and post-traumatic stress disorder or obsessive compulsive disorder, which can make people really overcome with anxiety. In these conditions, anxiety can be so intense that people are at risk for suicide, and they use alcohol or drugs to cope, and sometimes their lives feel like they come to a halt. I'm one of the lucky ones. My doctor told me how to get the treatment that would help me, and it did. I understand now what my anxiety feels like, when it happens, and what I can do about it. I learned some great coping skills, and even just naming it keeps it in perspective. Sometimes my anxiety can still get pretty big, but it doesn't seem to last quite as long as it used to. My anxiety was treatable. For most people, this is true. You can get your life back to where you want it to be. I know. I've got mine back.
Okay, great. So basically, what this video was that, there is a normal anxiety, and it can take a turn of kind of abnormal anxiety as a clinical disorder if you don't take care of it, right? And we all feel anxious. So it can be very little and it can be very severe also. And there are different types of anxiety, which we'll go in a little bit later. So let's talk about symptoms of anxiety. Yes, Lupika.
Yeah, in this video, I realized that they named a lot of symptoms, and we have categorized differently into 4 parts here. Some of you have already mentioned in the chat box about the symptoms that you experience. If some of those who are anxious about anxiety, they can see and identify what symptoms do they experience. They can be physical, behavioral, emotional, or cognitive. So in physical sensations, there's always increase in heart rate, blood pressure, shallow breathing, tightness in chest, stomach aches, headaches, butterflies in stomach, or just like in this video, the guy said, I have knots in stomach, or upset stomach, sweaty palms, sweat on the face, hot flashes, or even cold chills sometimes. These are the physical sensations that some people experience when they have heightened anxiety. And the behavioral symptoms are withdrawing from the situation when they're not able to face it. So running to your room and shutting yourself down, cutting off the phone call, leaving the classroom, when something is not sitting with you. Fast or repetitive talking. I read one of the comments where somebody said, because I am a fast talker, that is a problem when I'm doing presentations. Jitters because of fast talking. Avoiding, not going to school or work, or avoiding people, not going to parties or not attending Zoom meetings. This is another new symptom that have come up, especially among young students that I have known, that they, because of the video conferencing, because it's just their face showing, and they become more conscious about it. So they start avoiding because it brings them sense of anxiety. Then there are certain thoughts and emotions that people purposely ignore or avoid so that they don't feel that much anxiety. Needing reassurance and validation. These are also behavioral symptoms of anxiety. Am I wrong? Am I doing something that is not correct? Asking somebody again and again to make sure that my actions are correct because there is anxiety in the person, that is also one symptom. Procrastination or catastrophizing. Those are also behavioral symptoms of anxiety. Delaying. Okay, I'll do this assignment when it's the deadline. So closer to the week, or still I have a week. Or maybe closer to 2 days. Oh, this is not that big. I'll do the same day. And I have heard students finishing assignment just an hour before the deadline or even few minutes before the deadline. This is the reason, because anxiety is so powerful on them that they tend to diminish the effect or importance of the work to be done and submitted on time. So whenever you are doing that, you can have an idea that this is something else that is bothering me here and stopping me to do what is needed of me. Then there are some emotional symptoms. We discussed this in the beginning also. Constant worrying, apprehensions, fear, panic, phobic. These are emotional reactions to anxiety. And last but not the least, in the biggest category is the cognitive or thought patterns. Ruminating or obsessing with one thought all the time. Then coming up with what if scenarios. As I mentioned in the beginning, anxiety always follows the trap of futuristic events. What if I did not do this? What if I did not get the admission? And then over here, I would like to answer Yu Chang's question also. What if I do not follow my parents' guidelines? What will happen? So instead of following in the what if trap, you can sit down with your parents or your siblings or your partner and have an assertive communication about your worry of not choosing the course that they are suggesting, of not doing what they are approving of, because it's not in your comfort zone and it is igniting the symptoms of anxiety. So the scanning of anxiety, threat, and constant worry would help you by talking to the person who is forcefully asking you to do that. I hope that helps you in understanding the symptoms. We have a small video, and after that, we'll talk about symptoms in the chat box. 6 things that happen to your body when you experience anxiety. Vande, can you please play that? Thank you.
You have that, Vande?
Psychical viewers.
Oh, it's not sharing?
Yeah.
No, it's not sure.
Is it visible now?
Okay. Yeah.
Hello, Psychical viewers. We want to start off this video by giving you all a huge thank you. With your help, we at Psychico are closer to our goal of making psychology more accessible for everyone. Now on to the video. Everyone has experienced stress at some point. But what is stress exactly? What happens to your body when anxiety overtakes you? And what does stress do to your veins? Here are 6 things that happen to your body when you experience anxiety. First, what is stress? Stress is commonly defined as a state of mental or emotional strain or tension that people experience when there are negative or emotionally and physically draining circumstances. Anxiety is defined as a feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease about something with an uncertain outcome. Most people experience stress and anxiety at some point in their lives. Depending on the level of severity, they can detrimentally impact one's quality of life. Although stress and anxiety share many of the same emotional and physical symptoms, uneasiness, tension, headaches, high blood pressure, and loss of sleep, they have very different origins. You usually know what causes your stress, whereas for anxiety, it can come out of the blue. Now onto our list. 1. Nervous system. No pun intended. You've probably heard of the fight or flight response. And stress and anxiety tend to activate this fight or flight feeling. This is related to your sympathetic nervous system, SNS, and parasympathetic nervous system, PNS. The main difference between these is that the PN system takes care of the resting functions, such as lowering your heartbeat at rest. The SN system controls the action state and the functions that are a part of it. When stressed or anxious, your sympathetic nervous system becomes more active, sometimes even overactive. 2. Digestion slows, and that can be pretty bad. Most digestive processes take place during a calmer resting state, so naturally, the two systems have different effects during stress. When stress and anxiety get you into an action state, the digestion process is suppressed. 3. Unwanted or unhealthy weight loss. Because prolonged stress and anxiety decreases your digestion, your appetite is likely to suffer too. You might not feel as hungry as usual because of the stress, or just not mentally in the mood to eat. 4. Sleep problems and exhaustion. When your mind and body are going 100 miles per hour because of the anxiety, it sounds quite logical that your sleep will be affected too. Your body won't properly go back to its resting state. In the 2007 Stress and Anxiety Disorders Survey, researchers found that around 7 out of 10 adults with anxiety experience sleeping problems. Lack of sleep can also increase the effects you are already experiencing from the stress and anxiety. 5. Muscle tension. Apart from difficulty relaxing mentally, stress can also make it harder to relax your muscles. The constant tension can result in muscle aches that can last from anywhere from a few minutes to days. 6. Wear and tear on your veins. Stress and anxiety cause your blood pressure to rise, and over a long period of time, this can wear down your veins more than average. It could possibly slightly increase your chances of cardiovascular disease. It's unclear by how much this chance would increase, and naturally, it is neither a guarantee nor does it occur in everyone who has long-term stress. All things considered, it's interesting to see how some things like stress and anxiety can have effects beyond the mental ones. What others do you know or have experienced? Let us know in the comments below. Also, if you
Okay, great. So now we know the symptoms. They also, students, some of them, they had already written some of the symptoms. I think let's give them 1 minute to write some of the symptoms they experience when they feel nervous. And then we'll talk about that. Students, please cooperate and write your symptoms. We want to know if you really have the similar kind of symptoms or something different you feel. Loss of appetite, great. Pimple outbreak, very good, excellent point, excellent. The stress increases that a lot, a lot. Headaches, for sure. Shortness of breath. Feel withdrawn, absolutely. Overthinking. Shortness of breath. Okay, wonderful. These are the actual symptoms. So when there, you can, I think, stop share the symptoms, one, right? And can you go through the list of symptoms, what they have said? There are some symptoms which are not so common. Like somebody said, pimple outbreak, right? Headaches. There was one more symptom which I think was, I mean, other shortness of breath and all are very common, but you know, a lot of people don't know why there is, you know, the pimples become more when they are nervous and when they are anxious or when they are stressed. This is one of the things which can really happen, and headaches can happen because of the anxiety and stress. Can you read them, Vendya, please?
So somebody also said there's loss of appetite. And
Yes. Okay. So one sec. Give me the 1 sec here. So loss of appetite is a very I mean, it's not too common, but what happens with anxiety, there is a little bit of depression also. So when you are depressed, you lose your appetite. And that is why we are also going to talk a little bit about depression also after we finish with anxiety. And loss of appetite is one of the major symptoms. Yes, please, sorry.
And then there's increased heart rate,
Yes.
headaches, hair loss, and pimple outbreak that we mentioned.
Hair
Shortness of
loss, that is great. That's another symptom one can have. If you have too much of stress or if you have anxiety, hair loss can happen. Yes.
And very interestingly, someone said you often feel withdrawn and there's confusion.
Yeah, withdrawn is more because they are so nervous. They don't want to go out. When we are going to talk about some of the types of anxiety, I'll talk about that also. And also because they are depressed, they don't feel like doing it. Yes.
And
Okay. Yeah.
just
Anything
adding
else?
to
Yeah.
a few more emotional, symptoms like getting angry and feeling a little upset, dizziness, fatigue.
Are some of the other symptoms. Absolutely. Thank you very much. So let's go next to types of anxiety. We are not going into details of this, but I just wanted to mention that so that you are aware that these are the different types of anxiety, because we already talked about normal anxiety and there can be clinical anxiety. So, when we are small children, when children have to go to school, they usually have separation anxiety because they are usually with the mother. And when they have to go to school the first day, they always have separation anxiety. And it can last for years also. So this is one of the types of anxiety starting from your childhood. There is social anxiety, as you all said, and Rupika mentioned that if there is something, you have to meet someone important, you have to meet the principal like Nina Mukhi or somebody else, there is a social anxiety, or if you have to attend a party. So a lot of people have social anxiety. There are panic disorders. People become very panicky if they have some kind of an experience of trauma. Let's suppose they were in an accident or something. They can have panic disorder while driving. And otherwise also panic disorder can happen anytime. The phobia, which you saw in the video also, phobias are thousands of types. It can be phobia of height, of water, of elevators, of snakes, lizards. There are many types of phobia. I mean, we can go into details if students are interested in any of the topics, but right now I'm just mentioning them, and there is a lot to talk about each and every type of anxiety disorder. And generalized anxiety disorder is when anxiety remains for a longer period of time. It generalizes to every little thing what you do, and it can be for anything and everything. That is called generalized disorder. And substance abuse can happen, and there can be induced anxiety disorder with that, with the substance abuse. PTSD is post-traumatic stress disorder, which started with the war trauma. People, and when they came back from soldiers, when they came back from war, and they had witnessed so much during the war, dead bodies and all that. And that is where this PTSD term started. And now, if you have witnessed any kind of trauma, you can experience post-traumatic stress disorder. And OCD is obsessive compulsive disorder, which is like it starts from your habit formation, then it goes to, overthinking, and then it can become obsessive thinking, and then it can go to obsessive compulsive disorder. So there are stages of going into obsessive compulsive disorder. Thank you. Rupika, you can take over further.
Thank you, Dr. Bharadwaj. It was a nice explanation about the types. We'll quickly go into the nervous system, not exactly, but superficially. In the video, you guys have seen that the nervous system has two further systems, the sympathetic and parasympathetic. For your easy understanding, it is named here as love-based and fear-based. So parasympathetic systems advocates for us to rest and digest, while sympathetic nervous system explains us to fight, flight, or freeze. from the threat symptoms. So there are different triggers that I just wanted to quickly touch base upon. There are broadly two categories of triggers. It's either internal or external. That's the confusion that we are not able to identify that how can a trigger be from within our body. So what happens is when the senses pick up a threat, a loud noise, a scary night, a creepy feeling, this information takes two different routes to the brain. When the brain is startled, the brain automatically engages into an emergency hotline to its fear center called amygdala, that's right here. And once activated, the amygdala sends the equivalent to all its points bulletin that alerts our brain structure to protect, to adapt, to seek safety. The result is classic fear response: sweaty palms, rapid heartbeat, increased blood pressure, and a burst of adrenaline. All this happens before the mind is conscious of having smelled or touched anything. It happens so quickly. Before you know that you are afraid, you are. This is how the brain reacts, and then the bodily functions accordingly. There's a small video. I'm mindful of time.
I think, you know what? I think we should skip this because we don't have much time and we have so much to cover still, you know.
Right.
So let's skip this.
I'll just explain with an example of how our body reacts to and how do we fight, flight, or freeze. I'll give a small example. I use normally two animals to explain this example. When we sense fear, when our brain senses fear, there is a threat of safety. We either fight or flight. So if it's a bee, even bee sting is really bad for people. So we'll just do this, or we'll run away from it and get inside to the closest shelter place. But what when you see a tiger in front of you? So there's common response from our body that we normally freeze. It's not a common occurrence, but this is a common response. When we see an object whose threat level is much bigger than a bee or anything else, body tends to freeze or take flight, run away from it as much as they can. But again, the amount of fear decides if we are going to fight, flight, or freeze with that particular stimulus.
Right. So I think what you can do is, if you can show them a little bit of, but let's not talk about causes. Let's talk a little bit about coping strategies. And if you can do that mindfulness short, exercise with them, I think that's all we can cover today.
Sure.
Yeah. So coping, we can just show them that short video of coping skills. Yeah. And that's it. Vendya, do you have the, okay.
Anxiety is the body's natural response to danger. When our cave-dwelling selves got into trouble, our primitive brains would trigger an anxiety response to help us deal with a life-threatening situation. This is known as the fight, flight, or freeze response. Once we dealt with the danger, the anxious feeling would subside and we'd feel normal again. The problem is, our brains haven't changed an awful lot since then, and they can still perceive everyday stresses as life-threatening. When the responses aren't dealt with properly, they can build up over time and cause anxiety disorders. Here are 9 practical tips to help you start living with anxiety. Learn. The more you know about anxiety, the better. There are a ton of books, podcasts, and videos out there to get you started. Sleep. Establishing a good sleep routine and getting the right amount of sleep will help reduce anxiety. Dreaming helps the brain declutter itself of those unresolved anxiety responses. Exercise. Getting plenty of exercise reduces the amount of stress hormones in your body, which build up when your body goes into fight or flight mode. Don't smoke. People often smoke to calm their nerves, but cigarettes actually contain substances that can trigger anxiety and trick your body into fight or flight mode. Diet. Too much sugar can cause anxiety, as can coffee, tea, and alcohol. Eating a healthy, balanced diet helps reduce anxiety. Positive thinking. When you're having negative thoughts, challenge them. Repeat positive thoughts instead. Anxiety can't take hold when you're in a positive frame of mind. Visualize success. The primitive brain doesn't know the difference between imaginary threats and real ones. So instead of constantly worrying about failure, treat stressful scenarios as a challenge. Visualize yourself succeeding, and you might be pleasantly surprised. Relax. Try some guided meditation, mindfulness in household tasks, or just spend some time doing something you really enjoy. Give your brain a break from its cycle of negative thinking, even if it's just for a short time. Therapy. Seeking help from a professional therapist can help you form a game plan in dealing with anxiety, as well as offering a different perspective and alternative methods of treatment. Anxiety can often feel like an unwinnable fight, so it helps to have someone in your corner.
Excellent. Thank you very much. What I want to know, should we do the short meditation or should we play the bingo of coping skills? Because we want to give them 5 minutes to ask us questions or anything they have in their mind, right? Would you like to do meditation, mindfulness meditation, Rupika?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because we don't have much time. And then depression, we haven't shown them depression. Let's skip depression and do mindfulness, and then we can ask them if they have certain things to ask us, right?
So before we start the mindfulness activity, just wanted to explain you guys that this is a coping mechanism, the most effective coping mechanism to manage your anxiety. Breathing can be taken as an anchor to bring you back in the present. And that's the only way. It's a non-medicinally effective way to stay in the present and stop the worrying pattern. Stop catastrophizing, minimizing, or procrastinating. So I'm going to run you through a small mindfulness activity here today, and you guys can continue watching it over YouTube videos if you find it helpful today. The whole point is that you focus on your breath and stay in the present. So if you are ready, we can start. So you all sit comfortably. Shut off your distractions for just next couple of minutes. But then you can play the music on a light tone. You may relax your shoulder and your feet on the floor. Now I may invite you to close your eyes. We will inhale through nose and exhale through mouth. I invite you to put your hand on your belly below the navel. Feel your belly rising as you breathe in and softening as you breathe out. Let's start. Inhale through your nose. 2, 3, 4. And exhale through mouth. 2, 3, 4. One more time. Inhale through your nose. 2, 3, 4. And exhale through your mouth. 2, 3, 4. Now feel your feet on the floor. Take a deep breath and move your focus from your feet to calves, behind your legs, And then bring your attention to your knees. Taking a deep breath in, move your awareness to your upper part of the legs. As you breathe out, release any tension that you are feeling. Shift your awareness to the upper part of your body, your chest, your back, your shoulders, your neck. And as you breathe in, open up your torso. Breathing out any tension that you have. As you continue to breathe deeply, think about what you are grateful for today. It can be something like getting a good night's sleep, or exercising, or a nice meal, or a moment of laughter and reflection. If you can't find gratitude this afternoon, be present to what you are feeling. Acknowledge it without any judgment. Now, as you look forward to your day, imagine yourself in some of the most important moments. How would you like to show up? What is it like learning something new today? To feel relaxed in the face of so many challenges? What contributions are you looking forward to make today? What is your positive impact on others? Bringing all your attention onto your breathing. Embrace this day, this moment, by staying in the present. You may open your eyes at any time and accompany it with a beautiful smile on your faces.
Okay, we are all smiling.
And enjoy your
Thank
day.
Thank you, Rupika. Thank you very much. Now I invite all the students, if you have any questions, I would, if you have anything to ask related to anxiety, please ask us. We still have few minutes and we can talk about it. Or any comments or anything, be open, be very straightforward, that this is what you would like us to address in the next session. Anything you want to say. Don't be afraid of your principal. She's not going to say anything.
Thank you, Nicole, who's saying that was amazing.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. We are glad it was helpful for you, Marian. Thank you.
How do you know it's time to
seek medical help?
It's time to seek medical help. Okay. So as I said, that there is difference between normal anxiety and when it becomes clinical, because normal anxiety, as we said, it will go away with very little bit of time. But if it remains for a longer period of time and its impact on you, you feel it's very severe. And we have already talked about some of the symptoms. If you have these symptoms for some time, then I think it's important that you seek professional help.
Yeah, if it's impacting your everyday functioning.
Yeah.
So it definitely calls you for seeking medical attention.
Help. Any other question?
Maybe we can just share the screen for the bingo game in the meantime while everybody's
Yeah, sure, we
okay.
can. Yeah.
So let's see who is practicing self-care every day. So you can use annotation. I guess most of the students know. There's an annotate button on the top of the screen. And you guys can check mark and let's play a quick bingo game for a minute. Yeah, I see somebody.
Okay. Yes, somebody took a shower. Yeah. Okay. Play, we will know how many people likes one of the activity, maybe more common than others. I think you can have various check marks, right? Students can do.
There are. Yeah, there are. They're coming
Few,
up.
yeah, we
I
can
see
count
a couple
them,
of
right?
them saying went outside.
Yeah.
I see only one person brush your teeth. Did you not? Now I see another person. So stayed alive. That's great. Giving yourself a compliment. That's very important as a part of self-care exercise. Had fun. Challenged negative thoughts. Practice self-compassion. Great. Listen to my body. I got enough sleep. Somebody put question marks? That's there already.
Yeah.
I did that too, so I'm checking mark too. I had a healthy sleep before this event. That's great. So we're up with 1 minute. So that's great. You guys are doing something to manage yourself, something while we are home, and you're doing something that activates your bodily systems, your emotional systems. And that's one way. That's a coping skill. That's a great coping skill, self-care. So be always mindful at your times during experiences of anxiety. Remember what you can do for yourself. It's not being selfish, it's self-love.
Very good. So thank you all the students for participating in this. I hope some of it will be helpful to you, and you will take few skills from this webinar and will start practicing it. We'll come up with more coping skills probably next month. And I don't know if you have something else in your mind, and if you want to talk about it, do let Yu Chang or Nina know about it, and we can address that in the next session, which will be our last session. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much and thank you for answering all my silly questions.
No.
It's been very useful, and hopefully the students and they will absorb it, try to understand how to cope with anxiety, how to cope with the stress, and so they can have a better enjoy their life Thank you very much. And students, don't forget to go back to your class. Thank you, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Nina. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you so
everyone.
much. Really appreciate
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, Rupika, Vandya, special thanks. I know Dr. Bhardwaj is
Thank you.
there, but you guys did
Thank you.
amazing job. I always like to hear you. Rupika, I've heard you before. Vandya is new. Wonderful thing.